Go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Security Break's new series, Getting Back to the Office. This will be going on every other week with rotating topics to keep you aware of the most up-to-date information in our current environment. The format will start with a short 15-minute presentation, no filler material. We'll just be focused on practical implications of a security or safety topic, and then we'll go right into Q&A. So please be free with those questions. We want this to be useful for you. Just before we get started, a couple notes on format. In your window, you'll see a poll tab. We'll have some polls throughout the presentation. All of them are anonymous, and we'll explore the data at the end if there's a trend worth discussing. To the left of the polls, you'll see Q&A. We'll be addressing questions at the end, but please add your questions as you think of them. You won't be disturbing anyone. The webinar will be recorded and emailed to everyone today. And if you know people who were unable to register, it'll be available on our website. Finally, if we have IT issues, I do apologize up front. We've made a pretty good effort to have good audio and video on these, and we hope it works well for you. Today, we'll be going into some more of the CDC workplace recommendations for coronavirus, and we'll offer a look forward into some office design and safety considerations. My name is Herb Brichta, and I'm the host of Security Break. That's my picture. I've been doing this work for a while now, and really, if you want to read about me, my bio's on the website. We've got Beverly Shelby back with us this week. She had so much useful information when we were putting together last week's episode. We decided it was best to spread her insights across two of these. So welcome back, Bev.
Thank you.
Beverly, she's an experienced interior designer with over 15 years of applying her skills on building projects. She's very experienced with office design, having designed, having developed design and furniture standards for commercial, government, and healthcare clients. We've shown this slide before in our series. It comes right from the Centers for Disease Control website. And this is the CDC guidance on what to do if you have a physical workplace that's open to employees or customers. It's also important to point out that state and local health departments will have additional guidance that has to be factored in. So we'll be specific enough to focus on just a few of these today, but broad enough that you can apply this reasoning across the states and localities. Going down the list, everyone's pretty much familiar with telework at this point, so we won't be going into that today. The flexible work hours and the two physical space topics are what we're going to be spending our time on. The remainders, meetings, travel, downsizing, delivery, will be topics for another episode. So the first thing I'd like to say is that the flexible work hours likely isn't the best word choice, and hear me out on this. Pardon me. Hear me out on this. I'm not trying to I promise I'm not trying to poo-poo the CDC's guidance because I disagree with one little phrase. What I am saying is that I would put the emphasis on staggered shifts or use a term like alternate work hours. That word flexible implies that people can come in at 8 or they can come in at 10 and everything's a free-for-all because we're flexible. A free-for-all is exactly the opposite of what you want. As a leadership team, you want to control who's coming in and when. The practical implementation we're seeing in the state and local guidance involves reductions in capacity in the number of people you can have inside your facility based on your square footage. So if you're going to have some staff come in or give them the option of coming in, you want to set the times and days when those folks are permitted to come in. That way you can plan not to exceed your capacity limitations. And that's not flexible, that's very controlled. And it's also respectful to your staff. Those who have a family member at home in the risk population, they can come in without having to worry about whether distancing is going to be observed. But this is a safety program, not a leadership seminar. Having that type of plan in place can work in your favor, especially if there's some kind of liability claim. Minimally, it'll keep you from getting fines from your locality should you be visited by the authorities. You can show your due diligence and your attempts to follow the regulatory requirements by having a plan like that in place. Off of that soapbox, along with the staggered shifts, is this hoteling and hot desking concept. Beth, can you kind of take us through the history of that?
Sure. The trend for the past 20 years has really been to reduce the real estate of your office, reduce the capacity, trying to reduce basically your rent and utilities by having hoteling or kind of like flexible seating for staff members who are not there all of the time, especially ones who travel quite a bit. So basically you're sharing a desk. That is a risk factor to continue that.
Yeah, that probably needs to go for the time being if you can manage it. That's not always possible. Those of you running operations in a building now, you know what I'm talking about. Common use stations like a reception desk or guard post or the dispatcher's desk. Those really can't be duplicated easily, so you have to step up your sanitation, and that costs money, and it also has an effect on your equipment and furniture, which we'll get into later. Moving on, we have increasing the physical space between people, and the simplistic answer is we'll just move furniture around, but Bev, we really can't. There's more to it than that.
Absolutely. This is definitely where you want to start to stagger your people. So let's see, go to the next slide. If you have the capability of staggering shifts, it's recommended that you have your first shift sit at area A. So you have a physical distance between your employees, and then your next shift would sit at area B, again, to keep that separation and have time to sanitize between shifts.
And Bev, what's this type of office layout called?
This specifically is called benching, but it's definitely applicable for almost any type of layout.
Okay. And Bev, what other types of layouts are there if you don't have benching? And do those layouts provide enough space? What can we do with them to meet the CDC's guidance?
So if you go to the next slide, typical office layout right now, you do see benching where people are tighter together. Most workstations are a 6x6 cube, maybe 5x5. You might have luxurious space if you haven't renovated, where you have an 8x8. But if you have your own personal workstation in an open office, you want to make sure that you have a good barrier, especially at the ends. So there are products out on the market, or you can modify your current workstation depending on your manufacturer and raise those panels up a little bit, especially at corridors when you're walking past. So the person who's at a corner or an aisleway is not being infected as somebody, or sharing the same super physical close air as somebody walks past in the aisleway.
It could protect you from inadvertent particle spread through like a sneeze or a cough, for example.
Exactly.
Understood. Okay. You had some more for us, I believe.
Yes, if you go to the next slide. So looking at the other one as well, you want to make those additional marketing type of panels maybe either translucent or transparent if you can. So you're not then creating a full 8-foot high workstation where you can't see the outside. You still want to make it pleasant for the employees. But another area where you have separation between coworkers, where you can't stagger your shifts, you want to create an actual physical barrier. There are products on the market. You can either, again, extend it to your existing workstation or just have a modular unit. So that way you have a physical separation between the chairs themselves.
And that diagram to the left looks especially applicable. You have two chairs, people can wheel into each other's space inadvertently, and that reinforces that barrier and keeps us in a socially distanced type of environment at work.
Correct. And then this slide, actually, this is perfect for if you're more customer focused. So you can create a physical separation, but not completely change your physical eyesight. You have a separation between customers. So this is good for transaction areas, reception desks. It's great for hair salons if they reopen, banks, fast food chains. And again, this is a translucent type of material. So it creates a physical barrier, but you can see if somebody's on the other side.
Okay. And then looking forward, I mentioned having a controlled flow of staff into the workplace. And I want to reiterate that it's important to be able to show that you as an employer are following and having a plan in place to implement the regulatory guidance. Moving past that, though, when it comes to sanitation, you're going to need some cleaning procedures and possibly cleaning contracts in place. But Bev, as we go stepping up our sanitation efforts, it's also important to consider what our furniture is made out of.
Correct. Let me use this. So if you go to the next slide, so if you do have the ability to remodel or modify your existing space, there are products on the market. For example, this copper infused type of solid surface. This is a great product. It is a solid surface, so it is easily cleanable and easy to sanitize, but it also has an inherent antibacterial composition because it has copper in it. And so bacteria does not grow on the surface for more than 2 hours.
Okay. And then, So with these different surfaces, what recommendations do we have for owners, either with their existing ones or with, perhaps they had a renovation ongoing and they have a brand new desk here? What advice do you have for them in terms of sanitation?
So a lot of existing furniture and existing surfaces are made out of plastic laminate. You want to take a look at the manufacturing cleaning recommendations. So you either consult your O&M manual or the manufacturer's website. Cleaning and disinfecting information is on that website for sure. However, understand that if it is a plastic laminate surface, you may be reducing your lifetime of that surface. Plastic laminate is not meant to have sanitation done to it on a daily or hourly basis. Solid surface is. So you definitely want to take a look at your cleaning guidelines for the materials you have in your office.
And some of these cleaning solutions that we're using now are definitely a little more, they've got a little more power to them, and they might be a little more destructive than the typical cleaning supplies we used to use.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, so fabrics, we like fabrics. They deaden noise. They instead of having your office be a big echo chamber, they make it so it's you can hear yourself think in there. But fabrics, they're also a little bit harder to clean.
Correct. So obviously, if you're not getting rid of your current fabrics, you want to make sure you are cleaning them properly so they don't biodegrade and just start to unravel as you're sanitizing them. But you also don't want to, if you're creating something new, have basically, like you said, an echo chamber where everything is a hard surface. You want to be still cognizant of acoustics. So there are products on the market called the PET felt. So it's made from recycled pop bottles or plastic bottles. It's a dense composite material. It's absorbs sound, but it's also, again, antimicrobial, antibacterial.
So this will stand up to cleaning a lot better than, say, a fabric wall might.
Correct. It's definitely better than a heavily porous type of textile.
Okay, and then just looking forward, as we begin to, explore retrofits and things we can do to the office to reduce the number of touches we're putting onto common objects. We have a couple of examples here on the slides with these hand-free features. Where do you see us going? What do you see as, things that people are going to be looking at as they, plan renovations looking forward?
Well, hand sanitizer stations will probably be in every vestibule, reception area. Perhaps in newer construction, we may see the adding of sinks in some vestibules and waiting areas, so you can always wash your hands. If you go to the next slide, something really easy to add on to doors that don't require a latch would be a foot pull. So it's hands-free, really. It's not ADA compliant, but as long as you're not removing the existing hardware, you can still open the door with either your foot or your hand. There's other products on the market, if you go to the next slide, that you use your arm instead of touching the actual pull. These are seen often in public restrooms, in gas stations, and like the mass market type of restaurants. So
we might see some of these things that are in those places because they are a little more sanitary, moved into, a less industrial or less throughput type setting.
Exactly.
Okay. So that really brings us to the end, and we'll get into Q&A. Check the poll results first, which I can't see. Oh, here we go. So with the poll question asking about the current workspace layout, we've got over 50% in cubes, then 20% at desks, and then the remainder scattered through benches or private office. So it looks like most people are in the cube types scenario. The second one, we had the overwhelming majority at 87% needing to, or at least feeling that they needed to update their office cleaning procedures. So hopefully some of Bev's advice on these cleaning products, will help you as you go to refine those procedures. If we don't have any Q&A in here right now, please send those in unless I'm doing something wrong. Oh, sorry, wrong button. So here we go. Bev, we had one that, what happens when you use Clorox wipes on materials that you shouldn't?
Well, specifically, just so you know, I actually have them with me because I've been researching them even more. Clorox wipes do not contain bleach. So a lot of manufacturers are advertising that their products are bleach cleanable. However, that's a dilution of bleach and water in a spray bottle with a very specific type of cleaning regimen. So always look at the manufacturer's instructions and recommendations for sanitizing and deep cleaning, because bleach is definitely different than a Clorox wipe. Clorox wipe have a different chemical in it and may deteriorate things like vinyl fabric, regular fabric, and other surfaces, even more so than a dilution of bleach and water.
Okay. And we have another one. Where can I find these cleaning instructions for my furniture?
So if you do have it for your office furniture, you should have it easily accessible from either your manufacturer's rep, your O&M manual. Like I said, it's the operation and maintenance manual that would have come with your warranty information when you purchase the furniture. If your furniture is older, you can reach out pretty much only any furniture dealer. Websites are great. A lot of websites right now are actually marketing how easy it is for their products to be cleaned. So that way they're advertising already and marketing that this is a great product for you to purchase or add on to in this near future.
Okay. Thanks, Bev. It looks like that's it for Q&A today. Folks, I do want to add one thing. We showed a number of products and a number of sources for where we receive those images. We're not paid by any of those manufacturers. We don't have contractual relationships with any of them. We use their images and wanted to cite properly and show where we got it from. So, please don't think this is something where we're pushing those individual products on you. Moving on, the next security break will be 2 weeks from now on the 21st. We do hope to see you then. And we'll also follow up with an email that makes today's presentation available. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bye all.